Okay, good morning. We were in middle of talking about Menuchas and Hanefesh, which we said is one of the most prevalent issues of our time. The fact that we have non-stop things that are vying for our attention. Never before has there been so much stimulus for any generation. The challenges of every coming generation is just going to multiply and multiply. With new stimulus coming in, grabbing our attention, and there's so much grabbing for our awareness. That it's so difficult to sit and to concentrate on one thing at a time. And that's where the midah of Menuchas Hanefesh comes in. Menuchas Hanefesh, we said, doesn't mean chilling on the beach, playing golf, or relaxing, getting a massage, or something like that. That's generally what comes to mind when we think of the word menucha. Right? We think of relaxing and resting. But Menuchas Hanefesh means resting of their soul, meaning resting of your awareness, where you're calm and focused on one thing at a time, and your mind isn't like splitting into different directions. You're not in a state of anxiety, nervousness. Your mind isn't discombobulated and fleeting from one thing to another. You're able to just sit and focus calmly on one thing. Of course, it'll tie into emunah, right? Because the more emunah you have, the more calm you have, the more trust you can live in your day-to-day life. And the Sefer Cheshbon HaNefesh over here is highlighting the power of Menuchas Hanefesh, what it can do to us. And he says that whenever a person's mind is calm, collective, cool, he says that it will light up the rest of his guf. And his actions will be able to be orderly. He'll be able to accomplish so much more. And he also brought an example of this kind of snake in the land of America. Right, this was written in late 1700s. This kind of snake in America, where what happens is that it scares the bird so much, it petrifies the bird. And the bird gets so scared that it actually ends up just like losing control of its limbs and then falling down, and the snake can eat it. And the way that it does it, it scares the bird to the point where it just loses control of its body. And he says that's what happens to a person who doesn't have Menuchas Hanefesh. He loses control of his body and what he's supposed to be doing. Right? We all know that sometimes we have a deadline in work the next day that we have to make. And we get in such a state of panic, or a test that we have to study for exams, and we get in such a state of panic that instead of getting us into a more motivated state, it actually ends up we end up losing control of ourselves. We get too nervous. We can't just sit and focus, and because of that, we end up detracting instead of enhancing our work skills and ourselves. So he says the same thing with Avodas Hashem. When a person's in a state of anxiety, you might think, I'm in a state of fear, and I'm worried about what Hamas is doing in Israel, and of course that's going to activate me more in my Avodas Hashem. But the Sefer Cheshbon HaNefesh is saying, no. Quite on the opposite. On the contrary, when a person is in that kind of state, he's not calm, cool, collective. He's not able to focus. His Shmona Esrei, he's going to be jumping from one thing to another. His mind's going to be racing all over the place. And he's not actually going to be able to focus on what his mission, what his tafkid is in this world. And that leads us to page number... Sorry, these are flipped again. Ayin Zayin, Ayin Test. Page number Ayin Test. Mailas Menuchas Hanefesh V'zoi Hakashim Shava. In Samach Tes over here, he says, Lefichach tzarich adam lisgaber me'od lishmar savuka hayakaris azos. Therefore, a person has to be strong and to guard over this avuka, which is this torch. This precious torch that's in a person's mind, which is referring to his awareness, right? A person's awareness, you have to guard over it. Don't let anything come and grab your awareness, and any text message or news article that comes down, now your mind's on that, right? You were in the middle of learning, you're in the middle of davening, you're in the middle of thinking about what you want to do today, and then all of a sudden that text message comes down and boom, your awareness all of a sudden defocuses, you're on something else. Say, don't let that happen. You need that torch in your mind, which is your awareness, which controls what you're going to be doing. Lachzika bekoach, to hold on to it with strength. Ulahagin aleh tamid, always to be guarding on it, right? Whatever you need. If it's screen time, if it's turning off notifications, whatever a person needs in order to guard his awareness, that's absolutely important. V'zehu midas menuchas hanefesh. This is the midah of menuchas hanefesh, is guarding over your awareness and making sure it doesn't just jump all over the place. Hamishameres as adam merois rabas, and this protects a person from so many harms, right? And it's funny because now we're seeing the studies of what anxiety does to a person, and when people can't focus for so long at a time. I believe the attention span. They used to have commercials up to 2 minutes in between TV shows. Now it's down to, I think, 25 seconds. And they do them more often, right? So you're in the middle of watching a show, and 25 seconds. So a person's attention span, even these like highly stimulating commercials, which are like 20 different clips, right? Every second or second and a half, it's like a new clip. Even all that stimulation, like our minds can only focus for 25 seconds. It's a little bit concerning, but we need a lot of stimulus, right? And we're getting it. So a person, and we're seeing all the reports, the psychological studies that are coming out of what it does to a person psychologically. So like the anxiety rates and stress and depression, all that is like skyrocketing, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better with the coming generation. So unless we can really get a handle on this midah of menuchas hanefesh, it's just going to get worse and worse. And he's saying over here the harms, the rois rabos that befall a person when he's not in a state of menuchas hanefesh, and that's what we're seeing in today's generation. Ve'omedes lo b'shas dachko, and it stands for him at a time of pressure. This midah of not having menuchas hanefesh will bring up many sicknesses, many harmful and bad sicknesses in a person. And you have people who any small amount of bad news, and then their das is what? Oh, yeah. So even good news. What? I guess even good news, your mind already is focused on something else and not what it should be focusing on. Like something happening in the world, something that's not nogea to you. And then he says again, tsaro hana, any kind of pain or any kind of pleasure, right? Your toe is hurting, and all of a sudden now your day is shot. Right, you can't think anymore. You can't do your work. You have a little bit of a headache. You didn't get enough sleep last night, and I'm not in peak state. That's it. I'm not on schedule. Can't focus today. Kol dehu haba and alav behesach hadas. Anything that removes that's mesiach das, that removes a person's das from him. Ugedola mizu yesh lecha anashim chalushe hadas shemizbalbalim ayidei shum shinoi katan b'inyanei hahergel shalem. And there are also people, any small habit change from their daily schedule, and again, they're thrown off course, right? They only have 2 screens that day instead of 4, and that's it. I can't do my work. I'm not in my zone, right? So he's saying that a person can easily get knocked off schedule. Same for me, right? Like I don't have my breakfast in the morning, what it should be, and then I can get thrown off course. Okay, yeah, there's these people. Derech mashal, for instance, shenito mita kise v'shulchan shelo mecheder zeh lezulaso, right? Their chair or their table, their office chair that they're used to and that they're comfortable with, it gets switched into a different room, and he has to change his normal place, his normal table, his normal room where he works. So even small changes can throw a person off. Or if he's in a new set of workers and people around him. So that can also throw him off. Somebody who's not used to davening for the amud, or he gets nervous, public speaking, and all these kind of circumstances. And these, he's saying, it's not just DNA, and if I'm born that way, there's no way I can change. No. They can change through chinuch. It can change through learned habits. We have to learn these habits, and we have to be kovea in ourselves Menuchas Hanefesh, this midah, bein hayigimel mikra shel tikun midah shelahem, and these are between the 13 instances of tikun midas that a person needs to be koveach. He goes through 13 different midos that a person should work on every day and should check. That's why it's called Sefer Cheshbon HaNefesh, because every day you're supposed to give yourself a mark and go through, did I work on this midah, this midah, this midah? So through going through the midos, one of them that he says to focus on is this midah of Menuchas Hanefesh. Okay, so now he's going to go a little bit more into how to be koveah Menuchas Hanefesh. And we'll go through a little bit of the Sefer Cheshbon HaNefesh, and then next week we'll switch into the Sefer Sifsei Chaim, because he gives a few very, very practical tips in getting in touch with Menuchas Hanefesh, and I really want to focus on those. Those speak a little bit more to me personally. So we'll hopefully get some tips from the Cheshbon HaNefesh, and then other tips from the Sefer Sifsei Chaim, and through that, hopefully, we'll be able to work on the ability to focus, to be calm, to be very present. And through that, to be able to just focus. What's my tafkid in this moment? And anything else I can let go. I don't need to bring my attention there. I could just be where I want my mind to be and where I'm going to be most productive in my avodas Hashem. So he says over here in Ayin, Ois Ayin, V'hine erachti k'tzas be'inyan prate gramas tiruf hadas. Was marach a little bit in what causes tiruf hadas, which is removal of your das, of your awareness. Afal pisha ikar mekayma hi b'chachmas hamusar ve'amidas, even though really it belongs in Mussar and Midos. Ve'en l'shayches b'melechas hachinuch she'anu oskim ba'kan. Here we're dealing with learning good habits. Mikol makam nafka mina tuva nami be'esak hachinuch gufa, but also it's going to make a difference in our chinuch. Lefisha tzrichin ledaktik tamid lamad al tochan amachla makara benefesh, because we have to focus on where it's all coming from. Where is this tiruf hadas, this removal of hadas? Where is it all coming from? Because they limto atrufa, and when we find out where it's coming from, then we can find what the healing is. Hapratis laosa makam she'im lav lob mibaya. Sha'alpi rov einan yochanan l'rafoisam ela b'mesinis v'koshi gadol ela shelifamim yochalam afilu lahazik ban. Because if we don't, every doctor knows if you don't get to the core of what's causing, right, Dr. Eichel? If you don't get to the core, what's causing the symptoms, then you could look at the symptoms all you want and try to change the symptoms, but ultimately it's all just the Band-Aid. It's all just the cover-up. Unless you get to the core of what's causing the sickness, then you're not going to be able to heal it. And he brings a mashal of a sart sava. Echad lischanech lemalachta yadei ruach gaiva v'kina bevnei gilai oila avas amai v'areyu nitza berosh chayalasa v'roes ha'esh avdun umos sogrin alav misaviv. He's the head of a platoon, and he's seeing death and destruction in front of him. Ve'udenu omod u'mefakeach al iskei tachbulos ha'milchama v'das zilula ki'ilu yoshev ranan v'shalav bechedro. And he is just sitting there like calmly, as if he's in a quiet room. V'hine gibor kazeh, and such a strong person. Afal pisha ein shum pachad v'sakana gufnis maspikin lezazeh as ometz libo. Even though no amount of sakana, of death and danger, will remove him from the strength of his heart. Mikol makom yachalhu litaraf ulahavel aydei pachad aydaiga kolshu b'dvarim hanogim liyiras ha'ava v'hageus kina upsichas hakavaz yotza. So even though such a person, right, these the heads of the army, so they have this strong skill that no matter what, they won't get nervous. It could be death, destruction, gunshots, RPGs being fired, and they don't lose it, right? They're calm, collective, as if they're alone in a room. But nevertheless, what does get to one of these army professionals? Things like gaiva, right? Like pride. No, we can't give up. If we said we're going to go in, and he could put people at danger because of it. And things like jealousy and kavod, right? Making sure he gets the proper honor that he deserves. Loken gibora kadmonenu aleim hashalom shenischanchu minorei mevetuchim b'chuas Hashem me'ose ritzona. But a person who, an Eved Hashem, he needs both, right? That he's not, his mind isn't getting isn't getting removed from him, from all that's going on in the world. He's able to stay focused on what his tafkid is as an Eved Hashem, what our purpose is. As an Eved Hashem, this is what I should be focusing on, and nothing else. The news isn't going to remove me or what's going on, nervousness. He's able to stay calm and collective, but also things like gaiva and kavod, they're also not going to remove him from what his tafkid is in his life. That's what it means to be an Eved Hashem, that on both fronts, right, the inner and the outer, from our internal midos, they're not going to remove our das, and our external midos also are not going to remove our das. And when we focus on both the midos section and on being able to remove the external stimulus from taking us away from what our tafkid is in this world, so once we can focus on both of those, so then we're going to be honed in and able to max on our avodas Hashem. And then he says in Ayin Aleph, V'chein yesh lecha adam alo le'itaraf le'visbalba mipacha ba'leilos, chinuch behema b'koslo. So he says there's people who get nervous from small sounds at night. I'm going to quickly skim through this one. If I can find the next page, Pei Aleph. There we go. Oh, yeah. So any earthquake or any sound of an animal or the wind pushing the shades at night, he gets all nervous. He thinks it's the Satan with wings, or he gets nervous. What is that? Nivas believe nifam believe dofek v'lifamim shenofal bis alfos v'takanasa li'schanach u'li'skarev. Take off l'makom osa takala, and he wants to wake up and check if it's a robber or somebody who broke into the house. L'mashmesh l'fashvesh l'haker ba be'od shelo haya lo penai adayin l'koach hadimyon shelo litval aleh dimyono kozvos kalal. So he has in his imagination, he thinks that it's something there, and he needs to abate his nervousness and check it out. V'yesh mishadaita mitarefes alav machmas tirda. So there's some people that the reason why they can't focus on their tafkid in this world is because they're nervous, anxiety. And then he says there's other people who the reason why they can't focus on their tafkid in life is because of ADHD. So it's machmas tirda, right? His mind is thinking about something else. Kishamuto olav esek nachas ktsas. Anytime there's anything that's a little pressing, hu nechbatz umishtakeya bekas umeriva and bnei beisto, he gets all startled, and he can even get upset and cause arguments with the people of his house. V'lo od ela shafilu beoso esek beatzmo mishtomem hu mekalkalo. Even when he's doing something, he can't finish it. He ends up switching to a different task. Right, that's ADHD, right? Always something else. You're sitting down to focus on something, but then it's I forgot to order my new coffee beans, and then you're off ordering your coffee beans for the week. And he ends up wasting so much time. Right, our most precious resource that we have is time. It's limited, it's finite in this world, and time is where we can accomplish and use every moment that we have. And the malacha that we're meant to do, our purpose in this world, we end up not doing and not fulfilling our true potential in this world. What's the refuah? What's the healing? For a person to get used to limisinos, to patience, right? Being able to slow things down, right? Which is tough, right? You're waiting during Chazar Sashatz and I have a free moment over here. You want to pull out your phone or just quickly check what that buzz was in the back. But Mesinas is patience, being able to let that impulse go. It'll take a little bit longer. Yes, the chazan's taking a little bit too long, but I can wait. I can be patient and just be present, and hopefully even think about Hashem and Shmona Esrei and getting attuned with some of the tefillos that the chazan's saying. The Yishuv Hadas is also Yishuv literally means to sit, the settling of the mind. Right? We brought the example of the snow globe. Just letting it all settle so that you can see the picture and have clarity in life. And through that, a person can have a lot more order to his day. Right? You can set a few goals at the beginning of the day. do them beseder without just jumping to whatever's grabbing at your attention in the moment. And that's how a person really fulfills his tafkid in the world, his purpose in the world. So that's the koach of Menuchas Hanefesh. In next week, we'll get into a lot of the methods that we can use in order to get into the state of Menuchas Hanefesh. But for now, we know the importance of it, how we can fulfill our tafkid on a much higher level, and unfortunately what it does when we're always detracted, when our attention is defocused, how it removes us from our purpose in life. And now that we have that as our goalpost, right? Like if we can get there, wow, we can accomplish so much more in life. We can be overall healthier psychological state, be able to accomplish so much more, and less discombobulated. So now we have our goal set out for us in Eretz Hashem next week. Have an amazing, amazing day, everybody. Shkoyach. Menuchas Hanefesh.